On November 26, 2022, Woodland residents had to seek higher ground as the bank of the Newcut Channel, a tributary to the South Araput River, had been breached. Millions of gallons flowed freely into the woodland area, but this was only the beginning of their plight. Because it happened again and again. With each breach, a new but longer-lasting danger emerged. CNC3 News visited the area several times over the last 3 weeks to listen to the farmers' concerns, and there's a common theme.
Salt water here.
It is currently high tide in Trinidad and Tobago, and the water that you see flowing behind me isn't actually coming from upstream in the South Araput River, but in fact 7 kilometers away from the Gulf of Paria, and this salt water is now intruding into over 160 acres in the woodland area, affecting crops, cattle, and even residents' homes.
When they get down to our home there, it cut away the paint from on the wall, it cut away the concrete, and they get down to the steel on the foundation. When you get down to the steel on that foundation there, it will weaken everything, and all the concrete will actually fall. Right? Nobody is going to compensate me for that. Right? And it's not mine alone. All the residents who live around here, the salt water is going to reach there.
The owner of the land where the latest breach is located, Ganesham Ganis, says his livelihood, farming, has been severely impacted.
I in that land for over 45 years, right? And today, I reach in a position, I can't go nowhere and I can't do nothing to that breach that cut me. And the salt water coming, flow day and night.
The saltwater is also affecting woodlands biodiversity as the natural fish and fauna are now succumbing to a salty demise.
The water keeps flowing in, the grass is drying, the fishes have already died inside there, all the cascadura, tilapia, coscarab, wabin, everything is dead.
According to Moody, even the indigenous tata fish, a type of armored catfish endemic to Trinidad and in the Woodland Lagoon, is dying off. Nearly 7 kilometers inland, saltwater affected small and large fish, crops, cattle scattered across the Woodland Lagoon have been damaged or killed, with native grasses succumbing to a salty demise clearly visible with brown patches.
When the saltwater comes, there's a certain type of grass that survive, all the other grass will die out. And that grass have no value for the cow. That's like eating mud, because there's no value in it and it keep destroying it. We keep plowing and planting back grass. As the salt come, it kill it.
Now, as you just heard, salt water is affecting the types of grass that grows, which is also affecting the poor cows that stand behind us. So farmers in the area have called on the University of the West Indies to conduct salinity studies to see the impact of saltwater intrusion. Well, that has already been done. Between 2007 and 2008, the University of the West Indies moved along the South Araput River, starting about 7 kilometers inland, doing a resistivity study that went all the way to Mosquito Creek to determine how saltwater moves upstream. These were their results.
It was clear that during the rainy season, because of constant rainfall, the water in the fresh water, water river was not as saline. But during the dry season, you can see a maximum movement of salt further inland. There was maximum movement of salt further inland.
Climate change and rising sea levels also play a role in how far this saltwater moves inland. Projections from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the Ministry of Planning and Development show that with a sea level rise of 0.27 meters in just 7 years, a large portion of the South Araput River Basin could become inundated.
You expect with the rising sea level, of course, particularly at high tide, when you have maximum push of water from the sea, you expect the traveling of salt water further inland.
This isn't a new problem. As seas rise by 4 to 7 millimeters a year, and particularly in dry periods, saltwater in the past have reached as far inland as Barrackpore, which affected wildlife. But rising sea levels and climate change are not the only factors to blame.
The situation in Woodland is very unique. The South Oropouche River has undergone many engineering works over the years. We had changes to levees as well as the sluice gates, which at the point in time was not functioning properly. So all of this results in a change in the ecohydrology of the area, resulting in that saline water being pushed further and further backwards and like into the soil ecosystem.
For those still not convinced of the problem, Deputy Director of the Institute of Marine Affairs in an email showed the salinity test results indicating the presence of salt. Everything you've seen so far is what has happened, but what is now planned to rectify the issue? Now, you've heard about what already has been done, but what is going to be done to fix this problem? Well, according to the Minister of Works and Transport in a recent interview, he said that many of the breaches have already been fixed, but this particular one, as they fix, they have to wait for the soil to settle, but it also is at the mercy of the weather, soil conditions, and even the availability of equipment. CNC3 News visited the Woodland New Cut channel breach near weekly over the last 3 weeks, and issues with the equipment were eventually rectified. However, the breach was filled on Friday, September 15th, and 3 days later, as the soil settled, the bank began to slip into the river. According to the Works and Transport Ministry, this is to be expected with additional piling expected once it's fully settled. From the University of the West Indies standpoint, they are ready to act to conduct additional studies that allow officials and policymakers to make data-driven management decisions, but these studies cost quite a bit of money.
Of course, research is expensive as well. And of course, we'll be ready to work with the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Works, in order to, to plan a study that will help us address this issue.
Internationally, a $10 million fund was given to the University of the West Indies from the Adaptation Fund to adapt the entire South Oropouche River to the new normal, addressing issues like climate change, sea level rise, flooding, even farmland becoming saline as a result of saltwater intrusion. But why this particular area? The Planning and Development Minister said it was due to a number of factors, including flooding and climate risk, population density, and the impact on citizens, to name a few, as she addressed a crowd in Debe at the launch.
You will know more than anyone else the perennial flooding that this watershed experiences and the associated suffering that ensues, and that this is projected to become even worse as climate change continues. Over the years, the frequency and intensity of flooding events in this region have escalated, resulting in significant damage to homes, infrastructure, livelihood, and of course the environment.
The project officially kicked off last week Wednesday and is expected to take 4 years to complete through collaboration of the Development Bank of Latin America, the Planning and Development Ministry, and the UE, but most importantly,
the project will be managed by a group of local experts who have technical experience and also know very well the region. And most of the experts live here, or they have relatives living here. So this is very important because it affects the people.
The $10 million will be funneled into activities that will improve planning, risk management, infrastructure, nature-based solutions for farmers and fishermen, raise awareness of climate-smart resilient practices, fortify critical infrastructure, and develop new projects to manage water and much more.
The South Oropouche River Basin serves as a poignant reminder of the challenges we face and the need for swift, coordinated action. As we embark on this path towards a more resilient future, I urge each one of you to become an active participant in this noble endeavor.
While woodland farmers, residents, and even fishermen will still be dealing with the fallout from saltwater and flooding, help is on the way. and they are being invited to be part of that process. Kalain Hussein, CNC3 News.